What is up, guys? It's Lamin from Lamin Tech here, and in today's video I am going to be restoring a 16GB rose gold iPhone 6s. Now this was given to me by my friend. It's his sister's old iPhone 6s that I worked on last year. She upgraded to a iPhone 7 Plus, so this phone was just sitting around laying there broken, and he wanted it fixed as he's going to sell it. So I offered to fix it for him, and in today's video we are going to be fixing it up. So upon getting the phone, you can see trying to power it on, it does not power it on because the phone has a flat battery for ages. But upon plugging it on the charger, we get a sign of life. So we get the Apple logo, and then we are greeted by the lock screen which says iPhone is disabled. Now you can see at the top right corner the battery is like halfway with the charging sign inside of the battery, which means that this is running some version of iOS 13. It's either iOS 13 or 14. Now you can see I was trying to click on the emergency button, which could indicate that some of the digitizer is dead, which could be the reason to why the iPhone is disabled. You can see I'm trying to swipe to try get any sort of touch input, and nothing is working. So in my possession I have an old iPhone 6s display which is cracked but fully works. The digitizer works, the LCD works, and we'll be using that to make sure that the digitizer connection on the motherboard works fine. So since I cannot power off the phone, what I'll have to do is open up the phone and disconnect the battery. Now you can see that the battery and the screen are missing their plates. So yeah, we are now going to be plugging in the new display and plugging in the battery and letting the phone boot up. So you can see clicking on emergency, pressing all the buttons, you can see that the digitizer works fine, which means that the problem was with the old display, not the new one. So we can successfully power off the phone and put in good faith. So I told him to order a new home button as we needed to reset the phone, and the phone did not have a home button. So it's a simple process of just opening up the phone, disconnecting the battery, and then it's just a matter of plugging in the home button onto the temporary display. So you could see I was struggling to plug in as it was a new display. This back plate for the home button, I took that off and I found that in my jar full of parts and screws for various phones. It is from, I believe, an iPhone 6. It will work in a 6s, but the home button will just feel a little bit loose, but it should work for now. So powering on the phone to make sure that the home button works before we proceed, you can see that pressing the home button, it works fine. Powering off the phone, we can now proceed to plug in the phone into my laptop. So you can see plugging it into recovery mode, we can therefore confirm that this is running some sort of iOS 13 or iOS 14. So I am about to flash the phone by selecting a iOS version that I've downloaded to speed up some time rather than to wait for it to download, as the internet in my room is not very good. So we will be completely destroying all of the data on this phone. As my friend said, he wants all of the data on this phone removed as his sister got a new phone, so all the old data on it will no longer be required. As you guys can see that the flash has completed, now it's just a matter of waiting for the phone to boot up. So guys, you can see that we have been greeted by the hello screen, and now we are about to start setting up the phone. So you can see picking my language, region, and now connecting to the Wi-Fi. So you can see after the activation screen, we are greeted with an iCloud lock. So I contacted the owner and told him that there is an iCloud account on it and we need that removed. Touch ID obviously will not work as this is not the original home button. If this was an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 8, we wouldn't even have a home button. So you can see just quickly setting up the phone we're in. So here it is, the iPhone 6s 16GB rose gold. You can see that it's running iOS 14.1. Perfectly running fine. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be testing out the various components of the phone. You can see that the battery health is at 81%, which means the battery will not last very long, but it would be recommended if this phone gets a new battery. So you can see here we are going to be putting a new display. This costed around £10 on eBay, which is a good third-party display which should serve this phone for ages. And now we have a space gray iPhone 6s housing, which comes with a battery, a dock, the speaker, the Taptic engine, the camera, the flash, the power buttons, especially considering as the rose gold housing's mute switch doesn't work. So now you can see we are now going to be powering off the phone, opening it up with a spudger as it did not have the two pentalobe screws located on the bottom of the iPhone near the charging port. It was really simple to remove. There was no glue, no anything like that. And you can see I accidentally ended up powering up the phone while trying to open it up. So that's just simple. Continue opening up the phone. Once it boots back onto the home screen, all we have to do is power it off again. So you can see we are now disconnecting the battery so that I do not end up short-circuiting anything like the screen backlight, the whole motherboard, stuff like that. So I am now putting the new display on to test it and make sure everything works before I proceed. Before I waste any time moving the home button and everything over and seeing that the screen doesn't work. So you can see that the phone is booting up and we are in. So dragging along the folder around the whole home screen, you can see everything works completely fine. So now that we know that the replacement screen works, we can now put that to the side and continue. It is literally just a matter of moving the motherboard from the rose gold housing to the new space gray housing. Now you can see there is a bit of tape on the Apple logo because the Apple logo is very loose and keeps falling out. So I'm going to be starting by removing the dock at the bottom, and I've also removed the SIM card tray to make it easier rather than it getting stuck. So you can see we are proceeding to the top where the Wi-Fi antenna is and where the power button, volume up, volume down, silent switch all get connected to the motherboard. So you can see we can now wiggle out the motherboard just by unplugging one of the antennas, and that's it. The motherboard looks like it's in good condition. There are no signs of water damage. There was a white sticker that is the water filter indicator, and there was no signs of water damage or corrosion on the motherboard. So you can see the state of the old housing. Yeah, it's not in a bad condition, but you know, the threads of the screws weren't very good. So here is the new housing, which also comes with a new battery, which will be nice as we need a new battery for this iPhone. So removing the little cover for the buttons out of the way so we are able to fit the motherboard in correctly. Moving the cables out of the way so we can let the motherboard sit firmly into place. Now it was very difficult because there's like more than one and the battery was in the way. The battery was glued down, so I didn't want to move it just yet, so I just carried on and I was able to get it in. So now we can proceed by starting with the top left corner of the motherboard, just by screwing in the parts. Now we can take the screws from the old motherboards and the housing and just screw it down into place. There are two screws that go at the top. I missed the first one out on purpose just to make life easier for myself. I will make sure to come back to that in the end, near the end. So screwing the plate so that the power button, volume up, volume down and silent switch cable does not randomly unplug. So it's just simple screwing in the rest of the motherboard into the housing, which shouldn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes. Also being careful to not plug in the battery as we don't want to short circuit anything. Now, this little antenna cable here, I've been struggling with it for the past 5-6 minutes to plug it in. I don't know why it was so difficult to plug in, but near the end, I managed to get it in successfully. I believe this is one of the cellular antennas, if I'm not wrong. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. You can see how hard it is to just plug it in, and I finally got it to go in. So now plugging in the dock, and now screwing the rest of the motherboard into place. You can see we are now plugging in the other cellular antenna, which wasn't really too hard, but it was much more easier than the top one. So now getting the new display, connecting it to the phone to make sure that everything that I've just put in still works, or that came with the motherboard, with the housing. So turning on the phone, no signs of life, which means that the battery must be flat. So plugging the phone onto a charger source or an energy source. And then we get an Apple logo. And the Apple logo will not last long until boom, it turns off. Now what this means is either the battery is not being detected by the motherboard, which isn't the case, the battery is faulty, or the battery needs to be replaced. You can see I left on the charger for like 15-20 minutes and still the same thing. I don't know why the battery isn't charging. The eBay listing did say that it is legitimate and everything has been tested, so yeah. So I decided to opt in to put the old battery in. You can see that the battery was held in by tape, which I find weird. Putting the old battery in, powering it on, and the battery was flat. But funny thing is, plugging it up, trying to turn it on again, and we got an Apple logo, and the battery was like around 20-30%. So you can see that everything's working fine. The volume buttons, they're taking too long to respond because the phone just powered on, give it a bit of time to warm up. Silent switch works fine, power button works fine, the charging port works fine. So at this point, the sound also works, the Taptic engine works. So at this point we can now prepare to power off the phone, and we continue with our project. Unplugging the battery again and unplugging the screen. And now at this point we are going to be transferring everything from the old screen to the new screen. You can see on the sides there are a few missing screws on the side, which, like I said, I have a jar full of some random screws and parts from phones. So I'm going to be using the screws from there to help support this backing plate, as this backing plate helps the screen get clipped into the phone. So as soon as I took it off, rather than wasting any time, I decided that I will immediately transfer it over. A lot of people find this process to be hard, so you can find screens out there which come with a front camera and a home button. All you have to do is, once it arrives, if you still want functioning Touch ID, you will have to change the home button, and that's literally it. But in this case, since this phone has already lost Touch ID, if we order the screen like that, all we have to do is literally just plug it into the phone and we're good to go. So you can see we are now proceeding to move to the front camera and earpiece and proximity center and the one of the out of the three mics. We are moving to that, and now just taking it off and moving the little white bracket that holds them into place. You can see I was struggling and now I got it in. Now to just position the camera and the earpiece into place, and once we have done that, we can now put the silver plate protecting it into place, securing it into place so that it doesn't move out the way. Just a matter of screwing it in now. And we're done with that. Then I forgot that I left the home button on the other screen, so now it's just a matter of moving it over. Now, like I said, this is not an iPhone 6s's home button backing plate. This is the one from a 6. It would work on a 6S, but the home button wouldn't really feel secure. It'd feel a bit loose. So you can see that I put in the black bracket around the home button, which secures the home button into place so that the home button doesn't rip. If the home button did not have that, there is a likely chance that just spinning the home button around, the home button will rip. So now it's a matter of just plugging in the home button, screwing the back plate on, and we're done with the screen. So now we are going to be plugging in the screen again to make sure that the home button, the front camera proximity sensor, and all of the things we have moved around still work. So you can see we are successful in the screen. You can see that the home button works fine, the back camera works fine, the front camera works completely fine, which means we can now proceed to completing our restoration. Unplugging the battery again so that we don't short circuit anything. Unplugging the screen. I also forgot to, like I told you guys earlier, I'm going to be returning the screw at the top of the phone because I missed that out earlier. Now I am struggling as I'm using plastic screwdrivers instead of an actual toolkit, which I will actually get soon. But for now, these plastic ones will do me good. So returning the battery, plugging it in for some reason. Now cleaning out the inside of the phone with a microfiber cloth, connecting up the screen, and cleaning off my fingerprints to make this look even more cleaner. And then the iPhone also did not come with a plate for the battery connection, the battery and dock connection. So I looked in my jar again and I was able to find some screws and the plate for it. So cleaning off my fingerprints again. Now at this point we can securely close the phone, making sure that every part is closed, turning on the phone, and it still works completely fine. You can see we get our little Touch ID warning as the Touch ID sensor is no longer its original. Everything working fine, front camera, back camera, home button, you name it, they all work fine. Making sure that the sound works and the Taptic engine, all the buttons work, and everything's working fine, which is what I was satisfied about. Cleaning off the front screen to make this feel like it's brand new. Well, not really brand new. And then you can see testing out the torch too, because I forgot that little bit, and it completely works fine too. And that's it, the iPhone 6s restoration. The housing that we ordered did not come with a SIM card tray, so what I decided to do was I had a silver iPhone 6s housing, and I found the SIM card tray for it, and I just decided to plug it in, and it fitted fine. It's a bit lighter compared to the rest of the color, but it's fine. And that is it, the iPhone 6s restoration. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.